Hey, did you know Long's Products is a family-owned janitorial supply with mops, brooms, trash bags, and they even have food service disposables, carry-out plates, and to-goes? Check us out.
So we are live now. I'll just give a few seconds here.
Can of soup.
Can of soup. I'm just checking over here on our side, making sure everything is okay. Okay, we are. So we're going to go ahead and get started here. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jack, and tonight on Let's Talk, we're diving into a deep conversation that has real implications for families across Central Louisiana. Carbon capture and storage, or sequestration, or CCS. We're joined by a grassroots group that call themselves We the People. They've come together from different walks of life to raise questions about what CCS means for our health, our land, our future. With us tonight, we have Keith Guillory, retired from the USDA, Charles Kingery, a rice and cattle farmer, Joe Petrie, retired from the Federal Bureau of Prison, Francis Cannon, a realtor, and Equilla Victorian, a community advocate. Here at Let's Talk, we believe conversations like this only matter if they reach beyond these microphones. That's why civic engagement is so important for us. We encourage everyone watching to get involved, ask questions, learn what CCS means for you and your family, and most importantly, make your voice heard. Now, we also want to hear from you tonight. You can drop your comments right there in the comments. They will feed right on over here through to us. Would you, and the questions that you can throw questions in there. Would you feel safe living near a CO2 pipeline? Or, just feel comfortable knowing that it's being buried under your ground. But either way it go, hit that like button, share button. This broadcast, let's get more people into this conversation. And that's why we're here tonight. We got these folks from down south of us, down there in Allen Parish with us tonight. With all of that said and all of this kind of good stuff, good evening, guys.
Good evening, Jack. Glad to be here.
All right.
Thanks for having us, man.
No. It's our pleasure, truly our pleasure to have you guys here with us tonight, helping us to, hopefully we're going to learn a little something tonight. That being said, do you guys want to go ahead and briefly introduce yourself? We're going to start with Francis up there on the top level.
Francis Cannon, live here in Kinder, born and raised here. Generations of rice and cattle farming. We own property. And this, of course, is a very sensitive subject to us property owners. Mm-hmm. I've been a realtor since around 1980. Mm-hmm. So I've got a little bit of experience under my belt. And I'm just really glad to be here, Jack. Appreciate this.
No problem. Keith, how about yourself?
Okay, my name is Keith Gilry. I've retired from the Natural Resources Conservation Service, and also I'm a retired used automobile broker. And the reason I'm here is I'm also a small property owner. You know, by comparison to most people, I've got just a little bit of property, 45 acres, but it's something I worked all my life for. It's mine. I want to enjoy it. I want to pass it down to the next generations, and that's part of why I've joined this conversation.
All right. Charles, what about yourself?
Charles Kingery, born and raised here in Kinder. Grew up on a farm, pretty big family. We were either sitting on a tractor or a horse, you know, growing up. And that's what a lot of people did back then in the, 50s and 60s, I guess. Rural area, and never got away from it. Crawfish took over, and is helping out the agriculture departments, and it's really helping a lot. It takes a lot of water, but we got rice and crawfish and cattle, and I guess that's about it. Just got our roots down here.
All right. Mr. Quilla, how about yourself? You've been stirring up all this stuff going on down there.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it takes teamwork. I am so fortunate that we have a strong team. We all have the same driving goal. We're fighting for our children's lives, their health, our lives, our property rights, our constitutional rights, our mineral rights, all that. But I'm originally from Kinder, and I live in a little town called Swallow. And we have property, and like I say, a generational property. And I'm fighting, like I say, for my grandchildren and my children and everybody's children in Louisiana, because this is just not right.
And Joe?
Yeah, I'm Joe Petrie. I was born and raised in Oberlin. 29 years with the Bureau of Prisons, retired. I kind of got involved in this by accident, and thanks to Missy Quilla as well. She seems to drag me into a lot of stuff. But I was always amazed. I was always amazed with this, that how much it had gone through the legislator and things have been put in place with little or no notification to the public. A lot of us didn't know about this until it was like in our backyard, literally. We had no warning on it. And a lot of my concern with it is, possible ruptures, plumes, leakage on the surface, and the potential danger to the aquifer. So that's kind of what I'm looking at.
Okay. So
I forgot to mention one thing. I retired too from the Bureau of Prison. That's why I dragged Joe and everything.
okay.
Been over for a while.
Equilla drug us all in here. She's our mama.
She did.
Let's set the record straight, right?
Yeah.
All right. I guess we're going to go ahead and jump directly into some of the questions that we want to talk. Joe and Key, can y'all break down for us? Many people hear CCS but don't know what it means. How would you explain it in simple terms?
It's really simple. CCS stands for carbon capture and sequestration. Okay, the carbon capture part is actually capturing the carbon dioxide from emissions from some type of industry. Okay, and then what they do is they compress it to a supercritical state at over 2,000 psi, pounds per square inch. And then they transport that along pipelines to injection wells called Class 6 wells, where it's injected beneath the surface. And that's the sequestration part. And sequestration kind of has a definition of putting it away for good. Our concern is that it's never been done before, and we're not quite so certain that by injecting it under our aquifer that we're putting it away for good and that it won't come back to haunt us. So simply, that's my take on what carbon capture and sequestration is in layman's terms.
Yeah. Now, Keith, I'm sorry.
No,
Keith mentioned how they claim they've done this before, but I think most time they're referring to, excuse me, that it's been used in oil recovery. But it's a different situation because, like Keith said, this is put under a lot of pressure to a critical stage. So instead of just injecting to get extra oil out, they're injecting this in high pressure to store it down there. You know, and this high pressure it's gonna move. You know, it's not gonna stay where they say it will. And it, you know, we got the potential, like we said, ruptures and things of that nature.
So Joel, Keith, why should the everyday family be in Central Louisiana as a whole, not just down in Allen Parish, Vernon Parish, but all over Central Louisiana? Why should we be paying attention to what's going on?
Well, one of the biggest things is the aquifer where we get our drinking water from services is 14 or 15 parishes large. So if our water aquifer becomes tainted with chemicals that we don't want, we're all affected. You know, when you talk about how many people live in 14 or 15 parishes and rely on this aquifer as their sole source for drinking water, you know, the threat is real when you're injecting this stuff through the aquifer via some type of casing down below the aquifer. And everybody should be concerned about the fresh water supply and also the potential, once it's injected below the surface, is for migration, because quite honestly, there's not some magical box down under our ground that has some permanent edges where they can put this stuff and that it's not going to try and migrate somewhere else. You know, I just saw last week we had there was reports along the Texas-Louisiana line of some mild earthquakes, some tremors. You know, common sense tells you that when you have these tremors, this geologic formation shifts underground. And I'm no geologist, you know, but I know that much. And if you've got this millions of metric tons injected down there under super high pressure, anything can happen. And that's one of our big concerns.
Yeah. And just to add a little bit, you know, we refer to Louisiana in some of the meetings as a big pincushion because we have so many old wells and abandoned wells that they use for oil extraction. And so this is basically straw. Some of them are capped off, but the concrete they capped them off with back in the day can't really sustain, hold up against the carbon sequestration because once it gets in contact with water, it becomes corrosive and it can eat its way through. So basically anywhere you have all these old wells or wells people may have forgotten about, that's potential exit spots for this gas to get up to the surface and create a cloud, kind of like they did in Tarsha, and it can become deadly because it actually displaces the oxygen where this cloud is at.
Wow. So, Francis, why is Allen Parish and more broadly Central Louisiana being considered for CO2 wells and pipelines?
Matter of factly, convenience. The existing green line, which currently transports CO2, like Keith mentioned, for oil recovery, runs east to west along the southern boundary of Allen Parish. It starts up around Jackson, Mississippi, and it goes all the way through Louisiana, not too far from the coast, which there again, Allen Parish's southern boundary is not too many miles from the coast, goes through eastern Texas, goes down south of Houston, and ends up in a place called, I believe, Hastings, Texas. And it's been in place for years, and they're just going to tap into this green line and run these pipelines to the north. They're northeast, northwest, whichever way they're going, to connect into the Class 6 wells where they will sequester the carbon dioxide. And it's just real convenient to tap into this green line that's already existing. And there again, it's only existing for all EOR, enhanced oil recovery. But it's just a convenient way for them to tap in and run it on up. Now this line is close to 1,000 miles long. It's like I say, it's been there for several years, but it's going to be like fingers pulled off of this green line up into Allen Parish and Central Louisiana and wherever else they want to go with it. There's going to be there's already one pipeline right of way that's been purchased by Denbury Exxon, but there will be more. And that's huge amounts of carbon dioxide. They've already told us they're going to inject like 150 million metric tons per Class 6 well. Those are vast amounts of carbon dioxide, and the only way to transport this is via pipelines.
Francis, a follow-up question on that. As a realtor, how do you think, once, if or should we, engage in this project, how do you think that'll impact the real estate market here in Central Louisiana?
Once events are going to happen, something's going to give. We've researched this pipeline. They've had numerous leaks throughout the years. Their response time is terrible. They leak thousands of gallons of CO2 before they know what's going on. It's really kind of crazy the way this pipeline has been managed. But it can do nothing, in my opinion, but decrease our values. Mm-hmm. Who's going to want to live? I personally live within a quarter of a mile of the Green Line. If an event happens just south of me on that line, what's my property going to be worth? Who's going to want to live near this if it continues? Mm. So and then we're going to get into other things in the future. Oil and gas drilling is they're already telling us these minerals are going to be stranded. They're not going to drill through these CO2 plumes to try to extract oil and gas. So that's going to be that's always been a part of the negotiations with property, the mineral rights. That's not going to even be in the picture anymore.
So someone else was about to say something.
I have one thing to add to what Francis was saying about, and I'm not in real estate, but like I said, I have a little bit of property. But common sense tells me that if this were to come to pass and I were to put my property on the market, the fact that I had hazardous waste, which the EPA has considered concentrated carbon dioxide as a hazardous waste, if the potential buyer knew that was below the property, common sense would tell me that it would have to adversely affect my property values. If I was near an injection well, or like Francis said, near a pipeline that potentially could leak.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Do you think residents, and this question goes for any of you guys, do y'all think residents have been fully informed about what's really at stake? I know somebody mentioned it a little bit up front, but I want to dive a little deeper into that question.
I'm going to answer that. Absolutely not. Like Keith mentioned earlier, we were all kind of kept in the dark as to what CO2 operations were. We had no clue. We weren't even aware of the CO2 pipeline just on the southern boundary of Allen Parish, what the CO2 in that line was being used for. We've had a lot of educating to do, a lot of digging. So
we've found that what we have heard from industry that stands to, meaning big oil, that stands to gain, from this because of the billions offered in 45Q tax credits, that they're hollering economic development, but then when they're asked for some specifics, the specifics are elusive, and we see this as CCS is a taxpayer funded scam to allow billion-dollar corporations to collect billions of dollars in additional tax credits for something that can potentially poison us, and that's a big concern.
We've all been to public meetings where the industries, Exxon in particular, have told us the carbon dioxide that we're speaking about is harmless. It's like fizz in your soda pop. It's just no big deal. You've got to look at the parts per million. Carbon dioxide can range from, yes, being very minor to fatal, and everything in between. And we know from the situation that occurred in Satorsha, Mississippi, back in 2020, it made people really sick there. And then the sad part, the first responders didn't know what the heck was going on.
It's more than CO2 in these pipelines. It's everything out of that exhaust, that the additives in these plants that they're not talking about. And CO2 eats up carbon steel. And that's what's happening is it eats up the pipelines because they're not rated to handle carbon. That's natural gas. When you mix water with carbon, you get carbonated acid, and that it'll deteriorate the pipeline. And that's what's happening to this pipeline right here is the one that Francis is talking about. If you can see it, this is the pipeline coming right here. Francis lives right over here. This is a subdivision right here. If you can see it. Let me try to get it right here. This is the pipeline they came into a couple of years back. This is a subdivision, about a half a mile. I want to say, what is it, Francis? About between a quarter and a half north of this pipeline.
Yeah, maybe a half mile at the most.
Maybe about it's about like you are, because it's closer here. Now the other pipeline that's fixing to come through is going to come off of this pipeline right here and go right by this subdivision again, kind of at this angle.
Correct.
So you're going to have a pipeline going north and south on the east side of this subdivision named the Columns subdivision, and then you've got one running south of it, less than a half a mile. So that being said, these people don't have a clue that these pipelines are there. And I'd love to go get some flyers and put out at each door if I don't get run off. But I want to get these warning pamphlets and show them what's fixing to happen. And but that's the pipeline that's coming through. It's an old oil line that they took up, and sure, they put another one in. It was it just came through, and nobody knew it was CO2, like Francis was mentioned. Nobody, and this pipe at Denbury is out of Delaware. It's a company out of Delaware, and it came through what, Francis, 7 or 8, 9 years ago.
Yeah, I think in 2014.
From Baton Rouge to Houston somewhere. Now they want to tee off of it and inject this CO2 everywhere. And here's what this is the what Exxon put in everybody's mailbox. Is going to go through all this rock right here. They're going to go through all this rock, and this rock is going to be real safe. And they're going to put their plume down here. Little bitty plume. You see that little bitty plume right there? Well, that rock isn't like this down here in this part of the Louisiana. and it's been fracked so many times. And here is what engineer drew up. Here's your fractures, your earthquakes, and your fault lines going up to your aquifer right here. So when you put this CO2, when they inject this CO2 in the ground, they don't have a clue where it's going. The very first meeting that they had 11 months ago, all they talked about was a 4D seismic. They haven't shot that yet, and they already got wells, test wells dug. They lied about that. Okay. Here is where they're planning on putting the test well, the injection wells. So here's Oberlin. I mean, this is Oakdale, Oberlin, and Kinder. This is the casino out here. I mean, the reservation out here. This is Oberlin. This is where Aquila is. All these are subdivisions right here. This is Oberlin right here, the town of Oberlin. Look where this one's going to go, right in Oberlin. And then one right up here. They already have test wells already drilled. They've got right of ways. They haven't shot any seismograph yet. And the seismograph was going to tell them where it was going to stay and how safe it was. Okay, it's going to be safe. We're going to put it in this plume. Okay, here's the whales that Joe Pete was talking about. There's all these whales, these straws. Can you see that real good? Okay. Right here is where one's going up there by Oberlin. They fracked all these wells. Amoco fracked all these wells right here. These wells have been fracked. There's about 9 or 10 of them. Okay. You see all these old wells? These wells were drilled years. Look at all these little dots. There's thousands of them. And that's just in this area. That's just as big a map as I got. It's just 4 miles. And when you inject this CO2 in the ground, McNeese State University says it'll go 6 miles. The driller with Amoco, Ray Crochet, says it's going to go 6 miles to 10 miles. They don't know where it goes because when you frack it, you get 100% salt water. They were drilling these wells and they would come in at 400 and 500 barrels a day. And then when they would frack them, it'd be 100% salt water. And I asked Ray where that salt water was. He said it went up. It went up, just like these fractures right here. He was saying all it did was frack, and it went up toward the salt water. So they have fracked 9 wells right within a mile of where they want to inject this CO2. So that being said, how safe is it? They claim it's so safe, it's not going to go anywhere. And I think, France, you said 150 million tons. It's 250 million tons is what we've been hearing.
Okay.
250 million tons per site. When you frack these wells, you're recovering your water and your oil and everything. So when you inject this CO2 in the ground, it's going to be like fracking, but you're not going to be recovering anything. So if you inject in 5,000, 6,000 feet deep, and there's 3,000 pounds of pressure down there already, or 2,000, you got to buck that pressure that's down there already. And you're not going to get any recovery. You're going to be putting CO2 in the ground. You're going to be pumping in the ground, pumping the ground, pumping the ground, pumping the ground. Where is it going? Nobody has a clue.
Nobody knows.
It's going everywhere. And it won't be long. It won't be long. All these wells that was drilled in these wells are documented. The wells that were drilled in 1910, 1920, 1930, there was no conservation office. There was no DEQ. There was no anything. You drilled, dry hole, go drill another one. Dry hole, drill another one. Oh, we hit. Drill another one by. Oh, dry hole. Drill over here. We hit. The dry holes never were labeled. They don't know where they are. They never were plugged. They never were plugged. I personally know where two wells, the casing sticking up about 3 or 4 feet high, never was plugged. I'm looking for cattle after these hurricanes, and I'm easing around trying to get around, and all of a sudden, look at this pipe sticking up out of the ground. I just wandered up on it. It's an old well. All these old wells weren't plugged, and we got us I don't know how to get to it, but that old boy in Texas, he shows he had something this week, the early part of the week or last week, where these old wells are just blowing out. They're just blowing. Well, when you start putting 250 million tons of CO2 in the ground without a pop-off valve, it's going to come out these old wells. There's 450,000 of them to 500,000 is what these engineers out of Rice University and some University of Houston, and even the lawyer up there at North Dakota, Mr. Breckman. I called him and asked him if you can drill through this stuff after they put it in the ground. And it's like Francis said, absolutely not. How are you going to drill through a plume? How are you going to drill through a plume with that much pressure on it? How much pressure is it going to take to buck 2,000 pounds? And then in about a month, you got 4,000 pounds. And in 2 months, now you got 8,000 pounds. And you got to keep turning that compressor up. You got to keep turning that compressor up to get this stuff in the ground. Where's it going to go? It's going to find these old fractures. This is a good oil find back in the 70s from New Roads. They were drilling, and they made a lot of good wells in here. They made a lot of people multimillionaires within a year. And that lady that owns the Edgar Ford, I think they hit a bunch of them on her property, and she really did good. But they got the Ville Platte was the last one, and they quit. And these wells were really producing good. They were hard to get because there were like 18 to 20,000 pounds of pressure down there. It was hard to get them to do right. Well, they started fracking then, and they were going to come through here. This Tuscaloosa marine shale. This came from Tulane University. While I'm thinking about it, it comes from Alabama, and it goes into Houston. Okay, and it goes right through Central Louisiana. Where are they going to put this CO2? Right through here, right on top of this Tuscaloosa marine shale. You don't have to frack this, and fracking does not work because they don't know where the fracking goes in this part of Louisiana. And be dadgummit, they're going to come in here and put CO2 and don't know where it's going to go.
Yeah.
So here it is right here. And people up there at Alexandria are mad at all those churches we've been to. And it goes up as high as between Alexandria and Natchitoches. And there's your Haynesville Shale, your enhanced oil recovery. They're pumping CO2 in the ground, and they're fracking. They're not pumping CO2 in the ground. They're fracking up there. They're pumping CO2 up here, and at Delhi, with very little bit of CO2, but they're recovering it back. They're getting it back as they pump a little bit down there, and it washes those old sands out. But now they're trying to drill some new wells, and that CO2 that's captured down there, it has come up and made a big blowouts while they were drilling because of CO2 getting hung up in those areas. But this right here is one heck of a find that they've been knowing about for years, and they just didn't go get it because they were wanting to tie up all the leases, is what Sonny Lannon with Amoco, I've heard him say that at the coffee pot. They're going to drill 98 to 100 wells across here, tie up the leases, They're going to go to the Wilcox, hold the leases, then at $100 an acre and an eighth royalty, and then they're going to go drill this Tuscaloosa, go get it. But when they put that plume in here, you're not going to drill through it.
Okay.
So North Dakota's lawyers
like we said earlier, there are a lot of our minerals will be stranded.
you
Because
can't drill
they
through
will
it.
not go after them because
That's
of the
right.
CO2.
Yeah.
And I would like to say something too on the why you asked the question why we feel that more people need to be aware of what's going on, because there's still a lot of people that are still in the dark. They have no clue of what's going on. They have no clue that their health, their risk, their lives are at danger. I don't care where you live here in Louisiana, even if it's in a city, you're in the suburbs, or you're out in the rural. Your life, your child's life is at danger. When I first heard about CO2, I said, well, that's something you put in a soda water, a soda can. I never liked science and biology and all that. I knew what H2O was. But anyway, I heard about it at the police bureau in January. And when I heard about eminent domain, I said, well, they're crazy. My husband and I done work for our house. This our property. My husband went to work with pneumonia, 7 days a week to pay for our property, our home. We work hard. And what we work for is for our children and our grandchildren when we leave. Anyway, when I heard that I had no power over the property that I've worked for, my husband have worked for, we had no control over it. It wasn't ours, really. They could run a pipeline through your yard and under your house. You couldn't dig. And my husband is a farmer. He couldn't dig in a hole if he wanted to. Once they took over, telling me we don't have this right. But what really, and I was hurt. I felt like I was in a nightmare when I heard this. Then God spoke to me and he said, you got a job to do. And I'm like, are you serious? He said, I haven't left you. I'm here with you. I haven't forgot you. And these people that's on this committee, God showed me their face. You hear me? At the meeting. It was a couple of hundred people, I guess, at that meeting. But these people stood out. It was like we was attracted to each other. We had a mission. And each one of them, when I asked them, that none of them refused. They was on board. But what really touched my heart about this, not only that they taken our constitutional right from us, 5 years they knew what was going on and didn't give us the opportunity to vote on it. And they had the opportunity to do it. But what really tore at my heart is when I heard they putting a pipeline 500 feet from a school, 500 feet from a house. You know what happens when a pipeline rupture? Everything is frozen. So you have these little kids in kindergarten with a pipeline that close to them and a rupture. All the mass, the emergency can get there with the electric cords. It's not going to save them. They will be frozen. This will freeze everything around them. Look in Satasha. The grounds, the animals, it was frozen solid. And then I was at a meeting, I think 2 weeks ago, where it had a rupture, and they said you can land a 747. That's how hard the ground was. My thing is, where is the compassion for these children, for human life, period? How can you put a dollar value on a child's life? But you know what I think about too? These people that are pushing this on our property, they don't live here. They do not live in Louisiana. Some of them don't even live in the United States. Now, if they was living here and putting it on their property, if they was my neighbor and they say, oh yeah, it's okay, let's put another on my property, I would probably look at it different. But they don't live here. They're not offering us nothing. You know what we get in return? We get to pay for that, the 45Q tax credit. My great grandkids will be paying for it. That's all we're going to get in return for this. We will have no job economic. This is what they telling us. Oh, economic growth. But when we was at the Capitol, they told our representative, DeWitt Carrier, they got it on tape. Alan Parrish might get 2 jobs, no wait, 1 permanent job. But they feeding everybody economic growth, all these jobs. What we're gonna get is poison under us. We get to pay for it. You lucky if you live. And they don't tell the people. Sometimes you survive these pipeline breaches, but then you have health issues. Listen to the guy in Satasha. He have memory loss. He be driving, don't even remember where he's going. So if you a single parent in the inner city, you can be affected by this. Who's gonna provide for your children? If you're the breadwinner and you have a job and you happen to get affected by this because you can't smell it. If you riding down the road and you have a breach and you don't know it, your car stop on, you're gonna think you just have engine trouble. It could be the CO2 pipe. And guess what? Next thing you know, you land on the ground, foaming from the mouth. You will have health issues and nobody is gonna be responsible for that but you. But what touched me, like I say, my heart is the children. I wouldn't wish this on nobody. No human.
Aquila, and what do you say about? I think you kind of touched on it, but we have covered quite a few of the meetings that have been out in DeVille, down near Glenmora, out at Tunks and Erie, and all of the other folk. It's been so many of them, I can't even keep up with them now. But you and I on this conversation, and we're talking about this thing called carbon capture, and I don't see a lot of our community at these meetings. Why do you think that is a true thing, and what could be done to try to make sure everybody around us know what risk we're about to take? If we're gonna march down this, we ought to know what we're dealing with. You know what I mean?
Right. And you do have, some people like us, our race, that are involved. They listen and they know it's there. But a lot of Black communities feel that their community are target for hazardous waste dump because they're often seen as a path of least resistance due to the combination of systemic racism, due to historical practice like redlining, lower property values, and lack of political power and resources to oppose such facilities. And industry usually locate in those areas undesirable facilities because communities, because they're perceived to have less ability to fight back. Some Black communities feel like, hey, maybe it don't involve me and I'm not going to step up. And then I'm fighting a losing battle. I don't have nobody to back me up. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Nobody going to listen to my voice. Mm-hmm. But this one thing I can say, this movement, we have done something that Congress can't do. They can't do in Washington, D.C., and they can't do here. We have united Black, white, Republicans, Democrats, social status. We're not looking at that. We are united and we are pushing back. I'm sorry, but we need to get the message out to all races, each and every one. I feel like this COVID is this CO2 is a second wave of COVID. And it's not if, it's when. People just don't know what's coming at them. And it's nothing good.
They're promising all these plants and all these jobs. And I'm saying this before I forget it, because I'll forget. Back when it first got started, before the meeting, was that January, Aquila, the first meeting in Oberlin?
January.
Well, yep. One of the police jurors that retired, he goes over here and he gets 5 or 6 men together, companies, and we're going to build this big plant. Exxon's going to come in. They're going to come in here and build this big plant, but we got to get rid of this CO2. It's a data center, however you call it. So they're going to come in here and build this big old data center. And they're going to be 250, 300 jobs, and it's going to be work. Y'all can sell your sand, you can sell your gravel, you can do whatever you want to do. And man, it's going to be jobs. Well, guess what? You got to have this CO2. It goes along with it if you want this plant. Now, I think that's what pushed it all. Well, we can't do the data center here, so we're going to go up there to where is it? Pineville. They were talking about putting
Pineville.
Okay, then they talking about
Richland
putting.
Parish.
Well, and then they're gonna. But you got to have CO2. Well, we don't want CO2 there. They're gonna bring it to down here to Allen Parish. We're getting the runoff. All these plants that are being promised. So now it's gonna be up there at Pineville. Well, they're breaking ground in Delhi for it. Now it's gonna go to Shreveport. They're breaking ground in Delhi for it. So they're promising you one thing so they can get the CO2 injected. There's big money in there because it's big money in CO2. You drill a well. If you drill a well, it's going to take 2 days to drill that well. 5,000 feet. They can drill that in 1 day. And put the well head on it, bring the pipeline. Now all they're going to do is hook it up, and it's done. Bring the CO2 from Illinois, Indiana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Baton Rouge, wherever, and pump it in the ground and give me my money. Hurry up, give me my money, because it's fixing to blow out of the ground. It's not going to last but so long. And it's quick done, quick money, trillions and trillions of dollars in a little time. Very little time.
And you know what, Pat? I'm sorry. You know what? I look at those data centers that's coming up. They're kissing cousins to CO2. And the first thing, they're going to take so much water and electricity. I'm still doing research on it, but from what I was told, they're going to probably be monitoring your water because it does take a lot of water.
They don't have enough water.
Your water, your electricity going to go up. They all related. They're kissing cousins to me to CO2. And what I can't understand, I wish somebody would explain to me why all these plants they bringing in here. I think somebody said it's going to be $500 billion. This one they're going to be building. Why are they giving them tax? They don't have to pay taxes, tax free. But they're charging the citizens tax and taking from us. When are our voices going to be heard?
Well,
that's been going on for 100 years. Where's the money going?
It's
been going on for 100 years.
And when they came to Allen Parish about the permits, you had over 200 citizens wrote letters and stood up and say we didn't want these wells here. Oh, and what Baton Rouge say? Well, they took the permits from our police bureau first, and they put it all over there in Baton Rouge. But then when they come here, they're going to say, well, we're going to listen to you. We're going to take y'all concern into consideration. What they do? They give them the permits. I think it was a class 5, but before they could, the paper could drive, they was putting in for a class 6. So
Absolutely.
the people that came and spoke for it, they wasn't even from Allen Parish. But you have 200 and some people speaking, telling them we don't want it, but they still going to give them the permit. When are they going to hear voices? Does our voices matter at all?
And
they forget these legislators so supposed to be working for us. We put them in office for them to have our best interest.
We begged our legislators to give us the opt-out option whereby each parish can vote for or against this. And we were just slam dunked at the legislative session back in May.
It was horrible.
Slam dunked. It was terrible.
It was terrible. They treated us like we was nothing.
Very few of our reps or senators have listened to the people, their real job. Listen to your people. Do what your people want. And from what we hear about polls, what is it, 85, 92% of the people do not want CO2 anywhere around them.
We had it. We had a environmental government guy that was speaking with us, and he gets fired, here about a week ago because he's doing this. He knew he would get fired, but we were looking for these green cards to sign up there when we were at the Capitol where Aquila's talking about. Didn't have any. And Michael goes, Charles, you come go with me to get my phone. I forgot it in the car. And about that time, somebody told him in the hall, it hadn't started yet. We still had about 20 or 30 minutes. Somebody told him he needed to leave, get in his car, and don't come back. And he was a paid, we found out that he was paid to go around and do this, to pick a fight with you. You get in a scuffle, you get kicked out. You can't come back. So he goes up to DeWitt and said, DeWitt, I know you got your crony over there messing with me. And DeWitt starts screaming and hollering at the sergeant at arms to throw Michael out. Get him out of here. Get him out of here. He's a troublemaker. He's always a troublemaker. Get him out of here. Y'all remember that?
It was just nothing but dirty politics and that.
Dirty politics. And he was a 3-year convict that was he sits around in there and he gets paid to do that, Gets
paid to cause trouble.
Yeah. And they were trying to get Michael Nichols thrown out, and DeWitt screaming and hollering to get him thrown out, So you could tell it was going on. And like they said, they come up with a bill. It's like Aquila and Francis saying they come up with their bill, but they were also going around telling everybody not to vote for it. Don't vote for this.
Jack, can we answer any more questions about kind of the fundamentals of what's going on here?
Yeah, we kind of got off track there.
Yeah, the one thing that I quickly observed there was the fact that the information that Charlie put out, it was very important, and then but I did want to get back up there to you real quick there, Francis. The eminent domain piece and mineral rights piece. Do you want to speak on that right quick?
Yeah, let me kind of explain what eminent domain is. It's a law that's put in place, and in the past it's been for public use, not for private. For example, they want to build a new highway. They want to add make a 4-lane out of a 2-lane, and they're gonna take your property. They want to do a utility easement. They want to put in electricity in an area where there's none, so on and so forth. And so that's for public use. What CO2 has done as far as eminent domain, that's for private use. The public's not getting any benefit out of CO2 pipelines coming through your property, or even if they want to lease your property for CO2 and you refuse. They're going to probably bring you to court and force eminent domain, and it's all in place. They've been working on these new laws for years, and like Keith or someone mentioned, it's unconstitutional. Our water aquifer is a sole source water aquifer. If that water aquifer is contaminated in these 15 parishes, which it covers, what are we going to do? I think Exxon or Occidental at a meeting said, well, someone asked them if the water aquifer is contaminated, what are y'all going to do? Oh, we'll pump it out and clean it and put it back. That's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. And then they said, oh, well, we'll pipeline water into you. Okay, how are you going to how long will it take you to build a water pipeline? We're out of water today. We can't, we have no water.
Jack, I'm sorry, Francis, but Jack, that's why it's very critical and important that the people in the inner city need to know this does not pertain to the people in the rural. They will be affected just as well if, like Francis said, if this get in our aquifer. They need to ask themselves, where would they go? Where would they live? They can't live without water.
No.
They cannot
Yeah.
survive without water.
Right.
Well,
I kind of got off track here with the eminent domain, but that's
Francis,
it was put in place for public use, not private use.
Right.
And we feel like it's been the laws now are giving the private corporations these rights that they shouldn't have.
Right.
It's just not right. It's
Francis-
unconstitutional.
Francis, tell them about the insurance policies that our elected officials put in place for Exxon. Is it 500,000 per?
If you get killed from a pipeline leak or whatever and you die, there are limits. They have limits on what they have to pay you. It's $500,000. Lose your life. If you get injured, it's $250,000. So they've capped the liability policies. And I mean, if this stuff is so safe, why did they do that? It's common sense.
And if your house gets frozen, the damage from a leak, I think it's $225,000. I don't care if you built a home for $450 right now. Right. That's all you're gonna get.
Right.
Anyway, there's limits of liability in place, and that's not fair. You've got a man that's 25 years old, has a family, and gets killed. I mean, what's $500,000 going to do for his family? He's got 5 children and a wife. Come on.
And to work for a big company like big oil company like ExxonMobil or Amoco, or you've got to have a $5 million policy with a $10 million umbrella.
Yeah, to work as a contractor, but yet our life is only worth $500,000. But industry says it's safe. It's so safe. If it is so absolutely safe, why did they go to the legislators? Why did they pass these laws to limit their liability? That's a red flag.
Exactly.
That it is way more dangerous than what they're leading us to believe.
And then Francis, on that flyer that they was giving out in the mail, what they had at the bottom about is hazardous. You have that flyer?
Yes, right here.
And what it said at the bottom?
Okay. They kept saying how the CO2 was safe, but in the flyer, in extremely small print, it's so small I need my cheaters and the magnifying glass, and it says health hazards, and it goes on and tells you how exposure. My gosh, I need to get my magnifying glass. In moderate concentrations, might cause shortness of breath, and then it goes on, and then in highly concentrated doses, it might kill you. So they're admitting in their pamphlet right here that was just put into everyone's mail last week. It is hazardous. And
so
we've been to meetings and they've told us it's safe stuff. This carbon dioxide is safe.
And everywhere they've did this CCS, this carbon capture sequestration, it leaked into the aquifer.
Well, there's only been one place in the United States that it's happened yet, and that's outside of Decatur, Illinois, and it's a failure. So it has leaked into their aquifer, and the company did not notify anyone. Right. They were aware of the leak and continued to pump CO2 until somebody squealed, and then Illinois had primacy, kind of like Louisiana does, but the EPA stepped in and said, no, you've got to stop this. And they passed laws in Illinois because, from what I understand, that lake was probably a sole source aquifer like ours is.
It was.
Or whatever.
And I was at a meeting in, I think it was Burgard, Keith, where I asked, they had some representatives there and Upton, I think, from LSU. And it's something when they start talking about, the products, that's the CO2, we're going to be the envy of other countries. Well, let the other countries take it. we don't want it here. But I said, why can he put a product before a child? So I asked him, I say, at most of the meetings some of the meetings we have attend, I say, like the one y'all had at Oakland in the library, y'all was saying CO2 is safe. We've been dealing with CO2 for years. It's just like oil and gas. You know, we got a good record. We got a 30+ year record. But I say they fail to tell the people that's 20%, 20% they're using under the ground now. And that's for fracking. But what they want to put under the ground is compressed, and with these other chemicals, it's hundreds of metrics a ton. So I asked him, I say, can you tell me credible data where I can go and find out the safety issues of how many V6 wells y'all have in America? He said, well, after the meeting, give it me. I said, no, I want to know now. Google it, get your phone. He said, well, we got, what do you say, modulars? I say, no, I want to know where can we go and get credible data that there are V6 wells operating in the United States and what kind of safety issues, they've been having with it. Oh, he say, in Illinois. I said, you talking about the tube that ruptured and they had to shut it down? I say, so in other words, you are telling us that we are the dummies. We're going to be used as guinea pigs. It's not.
They claim this technology has been done for years. No, it absolutely has not been done. They have used the CO2 for enhanced oil recovery in the story. The only Class 6 wells in the United States are in Decatur, Illinois, and they both leaked immediately after they started injecting into them. Wow. But their legislators band together, and they pass a law where you couldn't inject it anywhere near the Muhammad Aquifer?
Absolutely. But they did that after the fact, after the damage was done. And that's why it's so important for us to get the word out, is we're trying to slow this down or halt this before the damage is done. Because once it's leaked and once our water aquifer is poisoned, and, we talk about in Citarcia, Illinois, that pipeline leak. Y'all have to remember, that was a 4-inch line. They are proposing running triple 48-inch lines for this CO2. So you can imagine if one of those ruptures, we saw what happened in Citarcia with a 4-inch line. Can you imagine with a 48-inch line? And can you imagine with 3 of them running parallel to each other?
And we've already got how many leaks on this line that's already from Baton Rouge to Houston, and we got Francis's husband is pipeline with Conoco for a couple of years, and he said, Charles, he called up there. He said they just have it working at 20% capacity.
Correct.
Right now, and
20%.
And we've got all these leaks at 20% capacity. So now when they really get serious with it in 5 or 6 years and they pump it up to 100% capacity, Lord help us.
Look, I tell you, this has certainly been an interesting conversation tonight, and and we might need to do a part 2 to this conversation.
We're ready.
Maybe so.
We're ready.
Hey, I want to say one more. Can I say one more thing?
Go for
it. That's going up in Delhi. No, in the Haynesville Shale. It's up in the Haynesville Shale. A friend of mine said, I was asking him, how all that fracking and stuff was going. He said it's getting in these old water wells, that's 80 years old, that's still in these old houses out in the country. It comes in their house, and you can light a cigarette lighter in front of it, and a flame shoot out in their faucets in their house. And he said that there's his neighbor, they had to build a 5-foot high levee around 57 acres because there was stuff coming out of the ground. It was black, it was green, it was like clay, but it looked kind of like oil, but it was green looking too. They don't know what it is. So some kind of gas coming out from all this fracking and stuff going on. And that fracking to get this oil out of the ground is one thing, but when you start pumping 250 million tons in different areas, it's you're not going to be recovering it. It's going to be sitting there waiting to bust and come meet us.
Well, before we get ready to go, is there any one thing that you guys want to let the public know that you guys have found out over these last 6 or 7 months that you guys have been working on this, um, that y'all really want them to walk away with, and y'all want to put something on their mind? Is there any one thing that you guys want to say?
Man, it's 2 or 3
Well, I
things I
just,
would like to say. Go ahead.
That's why I say we're gonna need to
I,
have a part 2 or part 3 to this
One,
conversation.
I,
each one
Joe's been
just a
I
kind of
few
just
quiet
minutes.
have,
over there, so
Each
hey.
one just a couple of things.
Okay.
I,
Go ahead, T.
well, kind of the thing I want to leave with people is this CCS. What it really is a taxpayer funded scam to give billions in tax credits to $1 billion corporations, but coming out of our pocket to potentially poison our sole source aquifer and to deem our property near worthless because we have these hazardous substances under us. And if that doesn't open people's eyes, I don't know what can. That's all I've got to say in closing.
Who's
Right.
next?
We're all in favor of economic development. Of course. However, we live up here in Allen Parish because we don't want to live in an area where there's huge amounts of economic development. We like living in the country, but okay, we're told that economic development is going to be the big byproduct, but the problem are the risk. The risk, in our opinion, all of the we the people on this committee feel like the risk far outweigh any positives that could be brought with economic development in the story.
Joe, you have anything you'd like to add?
I agree with what they've been saying. And one thing I'll add, this has been brought up at several of the meetings. If you happen to be approached by someone with a contract for your property, talk to an attorney first before you sign it on the spot. Because like they were saying earlier, once this goes through and they start pumping this under your ground, you lose a lot of rights to what you can do with your property and your access to your mineral rights. But I mean, even permission to dig on your property, you have your permission at that point. It's no longer really yours to do what you want. So just, take some
Great.
caution.
Good point.
Great point.
Good point.
Good point.
Aquila?
Well, I had a couple of things I like to say, but I want to leave this thought with our political representatives. When we voted for you guys, we voted for y'all to work for us. We don't work for y'all. Y'all work for us. And y'all had 3 opportunities to change this, and y'all failed us. And we won't forget. Because we are uniting. Whether you like it or not, this is moving like wildfire. We are uniting together, Black, white, Democrats, independents, and we're going to make some changes. Shame on y'all. Thank you.
Charles?
Everything that we talk about, we don't make it up, and nobody's paying us to say this.
No.
So whenever we go talk about something, we either get information from engineers, scientists. We've got Sweet Lake Land and Oil's engineer, oil guy. He comes out and he puts on a good presentation. He's not telling a story about that. When they come out, they've got lobbyists. They got paid guys coming out. I don't know who they are, what they do, but they're paid. They're people that's paid to go out and do this stuff. And we got people from University of Houston, Texas A&M, all over the country. And then one other thing, you contaminate this aquifer, crawfish. We got crawfish from Baton Rouge to Mississippi. There's more crawfish farmers than they are plants. You got thousands of crawfish farmers, and that's the only way these farmers are making money in agriculture today, with crawfish. Rice isn't bringing any money. It's less than what it was in the 70s. Soybeans ain't bringing any money. Corn is down low, you know. Crawfish, you need water. They contaminate it, no more water, no more crawfish. You're gonna ruin people with this stuff. You're gonna ruin people. And I guess that's all I got to say. I'll think of something tonight in the morning about 3 o'clock. But you know,
Yeah.
it's just something. It's always something after something after something
Yeah.
that nobody cares about because they're sitting in an office dreaming up something. How can I make some money? Man, we pump this CO2 in the ground. In 2 years, we'll make $3 trillion. Because we don't need to build a tank battery. We don't need to build a plant. All we need is an injection well and a compressor to pump that stuff down in the hole.
Oh, don't forget to invite them to our meeting September the 30th in Kinder. We're having a CCS meeting.
Yes.
Oh, you're having a CCS meeting in Kinder on September the 30th. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
So I can add one other thing to tell in. A good source for a lot of information. Several groups out there, but two that come to mind. You can go to Facebook and search for Louisiana CO2 Alliance. That's a page that put out a lot of information. And also there's Save My Louisiana. There's another one. And they both have a lot of good information that people could go to and educate themselves a lot more on all this stuff.
Right.
And all these sites are kind of linked up, so you can get all the information you could ever need.
Joe, make sure you go to our page and put those 2 pages in, those 2 pages in the links in the comment. Sometimes it'll auto hide it, but we'll go out and unhide it. So if you could drop a link in the comments, I greatly appreciate it, because when you started talking, it kind of started fading out a little bit.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay, I know we've run over a little bit this evening, but I think the conversation has been good. I don't think I bored y'all. We stayed in with quite a few people. But before we get out of here, y'all, I wasn't paying attention to the comments over here, so I'm gonna pan through that one quick second before we get ready to get out of here, and just see if it's anything in here that's of that we need to address before we get out of here. If y'all don't mind bearing with me one second.
No, we got time.
No,
Looked like someone from Save My Louisiana posted out here, and I tell y'all what, y'all got some reading to do tonight. So I tell y'all what, y'all go look at them comments and add some comments to them and answer those questions out there. That being said, before we close, I want to definitely thank all of you guys for joining us tonight. I know y'all, a lot of folk are with the families in the evening time, and in the evening is our quote unquote prime time. So we're so glad y'all were able to join us, the folk from We the People. And helping us start to unpack this information and this critical information from a grassroots level. Just the way you looking at it through your eyes, it's just priceless to hear your concerns and for other folk to hear what you have been going through. And they might have some of the same ideas. And then on top of that, they know someone, they know who to get in contact with now, just in case. So once again, for those of you guys out there who are dropping those questions out there, apologize that we weren't looking at them as we were going, but we had some interesting conversation going on. But make sure if you're watching this broadcast at a later date, just drop your comments out there. These guys are going to definitely be out there monitoring, answering them, and all that kind of good stuff. And finally, I definitely want to say a special thank you to Sadler's Towing, Long's Products, Legendary Kung Fu and Tai Chi, and the United Wrestling Entertainment Group. Their support of us help us to make sure that we can bring these conversations to the people of our communities. Most of all, I want to say thank you to our followers and who we call our supporters, because without you guys, we couldn't do this. And this is Jack, and with the Let's Talk show here, I want y'all to keep in mind to stay informed, stay engaged, and as always, let's keep these conversations going day in and day out. Y'all have a great evening.
Thank you, Jack.
Yeah, if
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
If y'all can hang in 1 second, I'm gonna end the stream.
Hey, did you know Long's Products is a family-owned janitorial supply with mops, brooms, trash bags, and they even have food service disposables, carry-out plates, and to-goes? Check us out.